At the end of the last episode, Harley lost her crew, her friends. You could even call them her family. So, when you've lost that, where do you go? That's right, you go back home. It's time to put the fun back in dysfunctional. Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to an all-new Crossin Streams. As always, I'm your host, the real Geno Reynolds, and today we're going to be continuing our look at the DC Universe's Harley Quinn series, this time episode 10 entitled Bensonhurst. We learn at the beginning of this episode that Poison Ivy is still alive, and they do follow her story a little bit during this episode. Also, we see that after her friends had left, they're having their best life ever, being unemployed. They're not in this episode very much. Harley, even for Harley Quinn, is not in a very good headspace right now. She's really depressed. She's trying to get through to Ivy and wants Ivy to answer, but of course Ivy's been captured, but Harley does not know that. So when Harley begins to listen to her conscience, which is called Sane Harley, and her conscience tells her to go back home. So that's right, Harley is going home. She's going to visit her mom, and they introduce it kind of like a sitcom, where honestly I thought that they were gonna. I was hoping that like Ed O'Neill would be the dad, because it was set up like a little bit like Married with Children. I wouldn't say it's exact, but Katie Sagal, the mom, when they first show her, she looks like Katie Sagal from Married with Children. So I was kind of hoping it'd be like Married with Children, but it wasn't. So yeah, she goes back home. Dad's in prison. The grandparents are divorced. Her brother's dead. And mom's the only one left at home. She hasn't been home. It's something like 30 some months, 36, I think it was. But her mom's happy to see her. And she's like, well, why don't you become a doctor again? And do this villain thing part-time. She's like, Mom, I'm in the LOD now. It's not a part-time thing, which is like, that's what would make me happy. We find out that, of course, Harley's home life was not good. Her dad was always indebted to the mob and owed a bunch of loan sharks and bookies. And so Harley was going to be this champion gymnastics athlete. And if she won this competition, she was probably going to go to the Olympics and get a bunch of sponsors. But her dad bets against her and asks her to throw the event. And she does. Because she wants to please her dad, but soon after, she beats the crap out of him. Right after she throws the match or whatever you call it, the meet. I guess it'd be Gymnastics Meet. So, and this is triggered by her mom keeps this second place trophy in her room, and she just flips out. But then it comes to find out that her dad is actually out of prison and back with the mom. And she's like, why are you doing this? He lies to you all the time, breaks all his promises. And she goes, and he apologized for it. And he's made all sorts of new promises. And so then we go back to Poison Ivy, and a mistake by one of the guards allows Poison Ivy to communicate through a plant and contact Frank the plant. And she tells Frank, or she tells this other plant to tell Frank, get Harley, come get me. So that's a whole mission. Frank the plant, along with his pot dealer, go on a bit of a road trip. It's more of the sillier part of the episode. And that's about all they do there on their, they show them back and, here and there, they're on a road trip. Harley is back at home. She's having dinner with her parents and her grandmother. And then I'll just say somebody dies violently. And it turns out the mob put a hit out on the dad. So he's like, well, I'm going to go talk to him. They're known for being reasonable. But Harley decides, screw it, I'm going to go with him. And she basically, let's just say, convinces the mob to stop the hit on her dad. And they actually kind of bond on this trip. But I'll just say this, and when you're watching this, you'll know this, because you're just going to know that, yeah, you know the dad is full of it. Any excitement he's showing towards his daughter, you know there's another side of the coin, you know. So they get back home, and it turns out another hit is being taken out, or someone else comes after the dad, or at least so we think. It turns out that both the hitters are going after Harley, and the dad ends up shooting Harley and saying, well, there's $1 million bounty out on you, so I'm going to try to claim it. Or first I tried to have someone else claim it and I would get a finder's fee, but he goes, well, I'm just going to claim it myself now. So she proceeds to beat the ever-loving crap out of her dad. The mom begs for her not to kill him, and she says, you know what, it's not worth it, you're not my family. It's actually kind of a heartbreaking moment, because, you know, Harley is looking for acceptance, looking for love, and even her family is not very nice. Even the mom ends up being not a very good person. So at the end of the episode, Frank finally finds Harley and lets her know what's going on. So they're on their way. So another cliffhanger ending. But then we get another scene. We actually find out who put the hit out on Harley, and it's a callback to another episode. It's not who you think. You're just like, oh, huh. That's interesting. It's just like, it kind of played off another episode. I like that. And then at the end, we find out somewhat the why, but we do find out the who has captured Poison Ivy. And so, again, we get another cliffhanger ending. And so that's the episode, Bensonhurst. I gotta say, it was a pretty solid episode. The stuff with Frank the Plant was fine. Bane got a lot of talking time in this one. So you got a lot of this throughout the episode. And that's pretty funny. He talks about maturity in the episode, and it ends up to a pretty funny joke. The stuff with Harley's great. I love the stuff with the family. You know that things aren't going to turn out well, but you know it's fine, because with what they did with it, I like that she stood up to her dad. I like that she was able to decide that, look, just because you're blood relatives doesn't mean you're my family. So I imagine that she's going to have to convince her old team to help her save Poison Ivy. So I'm guessing that's what the next episode's going to be. I never watched the trailers for it, but yeah, I really dug this episode. There were some parts I didn't like. Again, the Frank the Plant stuff was there just as to be funny, and it was okay. But stuff with Harley was really good. The stuff with Poison Ivy, it was all right, but the story's still ongoing, so I can't really pass too much judgment on the story, because we're probably going to find out next week why the person that took her wanted her. And it kind of makes sense when you find you can kind of get an idea. It makes a little bit of sense that he would want her, being that who it is. So anyway, that's going to be all for this edition of Crossin Streams. If you like what you've heard here, please subscribe to the Real Geno YouTube channel. Like this video. If you have anything to say about episode 10 of Harley Quinn Bensonhurst, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Till next time, I'm your host, the Real Geno, Geno Reynolds. See you later, puddins.